Alright, welcome back to another Art of War 3 replay. I'm your host, John Cena, and today we're going to be doing a clan 2v2 battle. I'm going to be the blue Confederate player, and my ally, Abysinian, is going to be the green Confederate player. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to be facing off against two resistance players on this map, and it looks like we got some early action unfolding around the battlefield as we kind of fight for those large containers and collect those resources for early game development. Looks like yellow is making an aggressive push to secure those resources. On my end, I've been able to secure the large container on my side. Looks like Abysinian is not going to be able to secure the container on their side. Got a fortress here fighting off some riflemen right now. And it looks like fortress is coming in for Abysinian. The fortress is not going to be successful though. It looks like Cyclone coming in as well from Abysinian, but again, looks like yellow is going to be able to secure those resources for base development. So looks like a little bit of delay here happening with the Cyclone and the Assault. Meanwhile, we got some action here on the water. Delta fighting off a Kane in there. Cyclone's coming in to scout yellow. We can see yellow is HQ2 still so far. I got a fortress moving on to red. Let's see what red's up to. And we got a really nice scout onto the red player. We can see red is already HQ3 and has a ton of supply centers. That's a lot of supply centers, and it looks like we've got 9 supply centers total. So red's probably going to have a very strong economy throughout the game, so it's something we need to watch out for. Yellow's definitely slower on the development. Looks like they're just starting to tech up to HQ2. Meanwhile, I'm already HQ3, just getting down some more supply centers. My ally Abysinian is going for a questionable build. Meanwhile, we got these deltas coming in to try and secure this resource container. That's not going to happen. That torpedo platform is going to deny Abysinian. So, Abysinian at this point only has 3 supply centers. I would not recommend this. He is already HQ3, and I would actually strongly recommend that you go for at least 5 supply centers. Max out your supply centers at HQ2, and then go for an HQ3 build. The plan for this game is that I'm going to go for the aviation build. Abyssinian's going to go for the land build. Looks like we got some Cyclones on the map there for map control. Vertex coming in to snipe some units there. Hawk in pursuit from the red player. Let's see if we can take out this Hawk from the red player. We score a lot of direct hits on the Hawk, but we're not able to take out the Hawk. So looks like these Hawks from the red player are pretty strong. My Vertex are going to go ahead and retreat. We can see here I'm continuing to produce Vertex. I've got 2 airfields out. I've got a couple assault vehicle factories as well, just so I can produce some tanks for defense. Vertex coming in once again, trying to see if we can score some hits. Looks like that was not successful. Hawks are now coming in pursuit of my Vertex. Looks like my Vertex are going to score a nice hit on a Hawk and take down a Hawk. And we're just continuing to produce Vertex here to get control over the battlefield. And it looks like I'm getting a second Avia factory out just so I can increase production of my Vertex. Hawks coming in from the red player, getting another scout onto my base. I'm going to go ahead and scramble my Vertex. Let's see if we can get interception. Looks like no interception on my end. I've got my Vertex patrolling a little bit. Here comes the Hawks. They score a nice hit on my anti-air tower. So looks like we're able to score a couple retaliatory hits on the Hawk. Can we take out the Hawk? No, we are not able to take out the Hawk, and the Hawk is going to escape. So at this point, just finished upgrading a second Avia factory and putting down a 3rd airfield, and I'm going to go ahead and put down a couple anti-air towers. Here comes a Cyclone from Abysinian. I'm going to score a hit on some units there. Oh, that was not good. I took some casualties there with the Vertex. I lost 3 Vertex in that engagement. Looks like yellow is going for a full-on camping build. Red, meanwhile, is dishing out some damage with these Hawks, cleaning up my anti-air towers there. So looks like we tried to go for another interception, but I believe my Vertex ran out of fuel there. So my Vertex are going to go ahead and dock. And I'm just continuing to produce some more infrastructure, putting down a power plant so I can put down some more anti-air towers. And looks like my ally is requesting that I produce a shield generator, so I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my special vehicle factory so I can support Abyssinian's forces with a shield generator. Abyssinian's best units are Zeus and Cyclone, so I'm going to need to supplement that army with a shield generator to optimize effectiveness. So just continuing to produce units here, and looks like Yellow's got a pretty large ground army and a Wasp. I'm going to go ahead and send my Vertex, and we're going to snipe that Wasp out of the sky. Very nice. We see some anti-air towers from Yellow firing on my Vertex, and I'm just going to retreat. Not looking to do a full engagement yet. I'm waiting until I get full aviation build. Here we go. Hawks coming in from the red player. They're going to score a direct hit onto Abyssinian's army. My Vertex coming in. We're going to score some nice hits onto the yellow player's army, and I'm going to go ahead and retreat. Looks like Yellow was able to secure a large resource container and get some resources, but I was able to dish out some good damage, so the math works out. So I believe my ally's telling me to scout a point there on the map. Looks like there's a resource container, so we're going to go ahead and see if we can secure this large resource container just to get some extra resources for development. I'm max Vertex for HQ4 at this point. I've got 3 airfields out. Looks like my Delta there for scouting was cleaned up by the Hawks. I'm sending my Vertex now. Let's see what Red's up to. Red's got a Kane to scout. Hawks are now coming in from the red player. We score some very nice hits onto the Hawks, and we score some more hits onto the Hawks. These are some very nice interceptions. My Vertex are taking some damage from the anti-air, but looks like we're going to be able to escape with most of the Vertex. Took a little bit of casualties there. A couple Vertex down, but that's no problem at all. We were able to score some pretty nice hits on the red player. Looks like Abyssinian, meanwhile, continuing to gradually build the ground army while I continue to go on the offensive with the aviation. We're going to score a hit on an anti-air tower. And it looks like Yellow is amassing an army in the center of the map. Hawks are now coming in to intercept my Vertex, and they're scoring some really nice hits on my Vertex. Vertex are taking some heavy damage from these Hawks. Hawks are now flying directly over our bases. And it looks like Yellow is now moving in their ground army, so we're going to defend the front entrance here. It's Abyssinian Zeus tanks against these armadillos. I got some hammer tanks and fire assaults to support, and a bunker to tank damage. And look how the armadillos get absolutely crushed by this defensive line. That was a colossal waste of resources from the yellow player. So we were able to counter that very effectively. Overall, I'm going to need to rebuild my Vertex count though. I lost a fair amount of Vertex. Here comes a JCP army though, so we gotta move to defend the right hand side of the base here for Abyssinian. So we're moving our ground troops now. I got my Vertex coming in for air support. The Cyclone is revealing units in the fog. Looks like those Cyclones are getting cleaned up though. So we got the bulk of our ground army moving in. My Vertex continuing to try and snipe units unsuccessfully. Ton of porcupines there, firing on my Vertex. I got 2 shield generators in the mix, and those are going to be able to protect the Zeus tanks while the Zeus tanks move in on the JCP, and the JCP is going to have to retreat. Meanwhile, Hawks coming in from the red player. They're going to snipe a shield generator there. Very nice pick off for red. Oh, and that's a direct hit from the Vertex on my end. But I'm taking some heavy casualties. Oh, that's a lot of losses on my end for the Vertex. I've only got a couple Vertex left. Not looking good. I've lost a ton of my aviation. I need to rebuild. So I'm only down to 5 Vertex at this point. Abyssinian, meanwhile, is in full pursuit of this JCP group here, trying to fight for this resource container. I'm not sure if this attack is worth it. He doesn't have any support, and look at this. The Hawks are just dishing out heavy damage against these Zeus tanks. Typhoons are now coming in, though. Abyssinian's only got 4 Typhoons, though, and that's not going to cut it. There's just way too many Hawks in the mix there. I tried to bring in my Vertex to support, but it looks like I wasn't able to score a hit on the Vertex. So I tell Abyssinian to fall back. The resources are not worth it at this stage. Abyssinian's going to take way too many casualties trying to secure resources. So I tell Abyssinian to change strategies to go for a full Zeus Typhoon build, just so we can have a very hefty ground army. I'm going to go for HQ5, and I'm going to stay with 3 airfields with Vertex. I'm going to score some hits there. That's a ton of porcupines in the center of the map. we can see that both red and yellow have expanded onto the top platform, plateau area, and yellow is going for full-on camping strategy. There's a ton of anti-air in play. So here comes some Hawks. They destroy one of my airfields, but let's see if we can retaliate. And my Vertex score a huge hit on the Hawks, and they destroy every single one of those Hawks. That was at least 5 or 6 Hawks in the mix there. However many needed to single shot an airfield. And luckily for me, I'm able to rebuild my airfield that I lost, and I didn't really lose any Vertex in that engagement, so that was a very poor trade-off for the red player. Right now, just continue to produce a ground army. I've got some hammers, infantry, and shield generator mixed together. I've actually moved them to the side. Red's trying to launch a JCP army at my base. Let's see how this plays out. Hammer tanks and fire assaults moving in on the JCP army. Shield generators are there to support, and we were able to repel this JCP army, no problem. Again, I'm not going to go for the full commit right now. This is not enough ground forces to push a full assault. I just want to keep red away from my base. So I just check in on Abyssinian. I want to see how they're doing in terms of command points for units. Looks like we got a lot of armadillos there gathered at the resource container, and right now I'm just trying to rebuild my army count here. I'm going for a little bit more of a ground build now, transitioning away from Vertex since there's a ton of anti-air in play. Let's see what red and yellow are up to. Both red and yellow are HQ5. Red's going for the mass aviation build, while yellow is going for armadillo spam and camping. So this is interesting. We'll see how it plays out. Here come the armadillos. It's Zeus tanks against armadillos. These armadillos are just getting crushed by the Zeus tanks. Meanwhile, red's moving in with a JCP army. We see 3 chameleons and some jaguar tanks in the mix there, a couple porcupines. So now I'm going to move my ground army in to intercept. I'm going to hit the side of this convoy. Let's see how this plays out. My Vertex are dishing a ton of damage against those units. I was able to take out a couple chameleons there. And looks like this JCP army has been shrunk down considerably. The chameleons run out of fog, and that force is not going to be enough. Meanwhile, Abyssinian is just shredding these armadillos. These armadillos are no match for the heavy armor of the Zeus tanks. And I was able to clean up red's JCP army very successfully there. No problem at all. Vertex are now coming in on my end to provide support, and we're going to be able to push back the yellow player. So yellow's in trouble. They have no ground army at this point. So I tell Abyssinian I'm going to move to point H, and we're going to do a combined ground assault based on the overall layout of the red and yellow players' bases. My thought process is that the yellow players' factories on the right-hand side are the most exposed part of their giant base, and if we can break the front lines of the yellow player at the side, then that's going to save us time and hassle for trying to punch through the front, and we can potentially break the siege. So yellow realizes that we're coming in from the side, and we have a full ground army moving up the side now, and we can see that yellow's trying to produce more armadillos and drop defensive structures, but these Zeus tanks are just chewing through the defenses, no problem at all. I got a shield generator to support the ground army. We have a very large ground army moving on to the yellow player. Yellow's in big trouble now. Yellow's only got a gun tower, a couple armadillos, and a sniper tower. That is not going to cut it. We're going to move straight past those defensive structures. And it looks like we're now in the heart of the yellow player's base. Yellow's desperately trying to produce armadillos to defend out of those assault vehicle factories. But my tanks are just shredding these assault vehicle factories. Those Zeus tanks from Abyssinian are headed straight for the headquarters. Meanwhile, my hammer tanks in the back there are taking out some of the infrastructure. And we can see that Abyssinian is just continuing to move ground forces into the heart of the yellow player's base. And we can also see that the red player has a ton of Hawks in play, but is not scrambling their Hawks at this point. It's very possible that around this point in the game, the red player realized that it was a lost cause and surrendered. We can see that there's a minimum of 10 Hawks on the airfield not being scrambled. We see 12 Hawks total, and I believe there was one more airfield on the top of the plateau with another 4 Hawks. So we can see that we're able to crush the yellow player's base, and with that, we're going to be able to move on to the red player's base. Detox are now firing onto our units here, but again, we're not concerned at this point. It's pretty much good game. We're just cleaning up the rest of these bases, slowly but surely. Alright, hope you all enjoyed this 2v2 battle here on the Seclusion Map. Good luck on your battles. We will see you in the next battle.